So, welcome to Hey Heart Talks. This is a new podcast in Mallorca about poetry, about the heart, and about authenticity. My name is Rosie. I'm a poet and artist originally from the UK, now living in Mallorca. And I'm joined by the lovely poet Ycin today from Madrid, who's also living in Mallorca, to talk about all these things, all these beautiful things. So to begin, I think we should start with a question around your poetry, Ycin, and a little bit about you as well, where you're from, how you started writing, what inspires you to write, basically.
Okay, well, that's a hard question in reality.
It's a very
It's
loaded
like,
question, actually. It's true.
yeah, it's like the basics, but it's really hard. Honestly, I really don't remember when I started writing. When I was like a teenager on high school and all that stuff, I used to maybe participate in this high school contest, like writing short stories, and I always had this creating ideas with my friends, stories and everything. But there was a point where I really like started writing, like really writing, like having notebooks full of text, writing in my agendas, things that came out to my mind. Yes, I don't know, things were evolving,
Uh-huh.
and so my brain. And I think, like, I started writing as a need of
Yeah.
myself. Like it wasn't like I was looking for it. I wasn't looking to create some art. I just needed it.
Yeah.
So for me, poetry, or well, what I do is not exactly poetry. I don't know how to call it, but like writing for me, it's just a way of. I always feel my feelings are really intense and my brain is really chaotic. So I always think of it like these. Uh, I don't know how to say it, these balls of thread you have like
Oh,
for
yeah.
knitting,
Yeah.
and like my brain is that, and it's all messed up. And when I write, it's like you start just
Okay.
pulling little by little in an organized way, so the knot starts to get lighter. So
That's such a
for me,
beautiful image.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's a way of letting me visualize how I like. I feel it's easier to describe it with an image
Yeah.
because talking about feelings and describing them is so hard that, and that's also the point of poetry.
Mm.
Like to give words, to give an image to those things that you can't explain in other way that is not art.
Yeah. And this place where your poetry comes from, I mean, you've talked already about the fact that you have like this kind of chaos happening. Do you
Yeah.
find poetry comes to you like relatively easily? Like it just comes from a place within you? Or do you feel like sometimes you have to sit with it and really think and kind of construct and it feels like something that you have to shape, or does it already come already shaped? Do you know what I'm asking? It's kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, it could be both things actually, but I'm just interested to know from you your experience of that process of writing poetry, how it feels when you write.
Yeah, so honestly, in my case, I feel it's something that just I have it inside, and I just put it on the paper.
Yeah.
And when I put it on the paper, I'm just like organizing everything I have inside, and just making it clean. So
Okay.
in reality, when I write a poem or whatever, I'm not doing a clean work. I'm just taking out. So it's something that really flows. And I've thought sometimes like, okay, maybe I could try like to rhyme and to do things like that. And when I start doing that, for me, it's harder because I like stop my flow of thought. And so normally it's just something like I have and I need to put it somewhere or I need to organize it or I'm having an idea and I'm like, okay, this is beautiful. I want to explore it. And then it just like flows.
Yeah.
So maybe I write a poem in, I don't know, 10 minutes. I just take the notebook and I'm like, and
Yeah, it
I
just comes
just
out.
write it. Yeah, like it's, if it's here, it's just like putting it on the paper.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, of course, sometimes it's just something dirty and something like several thoughts. And other times I'm like, okay, this is right. Okay, this
Yeah.
is now how beautiful.
And when you write, do you often think about the reader? Do you think about someone reading it or listening to it? Or does it feel very much just your own self talking to itself?
Well, it really depends. I must say that at the beginning it was just me with myself because it was just for me. It was like this moment when you need to talk to someone but you don't know who to talk with or you don't know exactly what to say because maybe you don't really understand what you want to communicate.
Mhm.
So I would just write it to see like, okay, what is going on? I'm not understanding it. So it was kind of something more therapeutical
Uh-huh.
that it came out as art.
Yeah.
But then it's true that sometimes I have used it to explain other people how I'm feeling, but not like publicly, but maybe my partner or a friend. Like for me, sometimes it was easier to communicate how I was feeling by writing something.
Hmm.
And then after I started doing like the poetry slams and all this, my brain changed a bit and I was like, okay, maybe this will go to the poetry slam.
Mm.
But it was a feeling I didn't like, because I
Yeah.
liked writing without, because I think when you already think, at least in my case, when I already think on someone listening to it or reading it, I'm I'm putting like a bigger filter on what I write because it's like when you do theater but you care about, other people will see you, so you
Yeah.
have this mindset of not judgment, but there is other people, so you are not that emotionally naked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's true. Yeah.
I really try to pull that away, like
Mm.
put that away and just write as I've always been writing, like just being um, sincere and just
Yeah.
be myself in front of the paper, like putting my feelings like that organically. And that's the way I like. But sometimes it's true that I'm influenced mostly if I have like a slam or something coming
Yeah.
close. So
Yeah, I mean, I asked that question because actually, just for context, Ethan performed at one of the Hey Heart events. It was the November one, I think, or was it October?
yeah,
I can't remember. It was in
yeah,
autumn,
I
winter,
don't remember
one
neither.
of them. And and you performed a poem actually that was very much engaging with the audience because it was around colour, wasn't it? And it was really beautiful because I think you had the audience to close their eyes and you recited your poem and it kind of provoked in each individual within that audience their own idea of what colour you were talking about. And so I'm always interested in this relationship between the person reciting their poem and the audience. And of course, in events like poetry slams and Hey Heart, I think poets do come forward with this idea of I'm going to think about what I'm producing or what I'm provoking in the person listening. But actually, when poets are writing in their own space, they don't think about the reader at all. So there's this kind of like this balance between being authentic and writing for you and what feels right, and at the same time writing to kind of connect with the audience, to connect with the reader. And I think this balance is really interesting. So I think the next question is, do you think there's a difference between writing for you, writing for the page, let's say, and writing for an event? Are they different types of poems, do you think, for you?
Yeah, I think that the difference is mainly like what is your objective? So, or where does the poem comes from? Because, for example, in my case, because I don't know like other people like how do they work, but in my case I have like I don't know how many writings and text. So a lot of times I just check what I have, and then I'm like, okay, I feel like I want to share this. I don't even think like is I try to think more about what I feel like reading, like what I feel at that point of my life, or what feeling I want to create in the room. Like I feel like getting more emotional, or I feel like getting more like a colorful, vibrant feeling, or things like that. But it's true that sometimes you really want to create something so specific that uh, that aim you have or that goal inspires you. So you already have
Yeah.
something new being born in yourself. So I think it's also a way of being inspired.
Yeah.
And a lot of times maybe yeah you want to do something so specific, or you really feel like creating a kind of moment that you need a specific material. So then this poem is coming from also from that feeling of wanting to create something, that specific thing.
Mm.
So I think it
Yeah.
can come from two different places.
Yeah, no, it's true. And when you, you've talked about objective there, like when you have an intention, what do you think happens when you have no intention at all, no objective, and you just write on the page? Because I think what I'm going to ask you now is about the heart, and the heart as an image comes up a lot in conversation when we talk about authenticity, honesty, and of course these Hey Heart events. This is kind of the theme, right? Is that poetry is coming from a source, and the heart is just one example of where that power is coming from. For you, in your art and your creation, what does the heart mean to you? Is it something you engage with, or does it feel like a romantic idea, kind of a really yeah, like something that doesn't really resonate with you?
Okay, I have to stop 1 second. Sorry, because
Yeah.
my laptop is dying. I have to take
Ah,
the
okay.
charger.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
I have listened to your question. Sorry.
Okay, don't worry.
1 second. Yes, my computer is a bit old, so when it's
Ah, okay.
warning me, I have to be fast.
Don't worry, it's
Because
fine.
I prefer that it suddenly turns off or whatever.
Yeah, that would be quite funny actually. You just suddenly go.
Just disappear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
I'll do the question again because maybe we I need the context. But yeah,
okay, perfect.
basically what was I saying? Yeah, for like in terms of like a channel or like a source of energy when you write poetry, or create in any way, does the heart feel like something you resonate with or connect with? Or does it feel like like a romantic idea that's been kind of quite cliched, right? Is it something? Is it an idea that you connect with? This idea of expressing from the heart.
Well, I think that for me, it really like I really connect with that idea, because my it's what I've said. Like for me, art is a way of translating what is happening inside myself, and that is really hard to express in words or in any other way. So yeah, a lot of times I feel like, well, when I speak about the heart in this way, I also feel like it's the brain, like it's the same thing more or less for me, because
That's
like
interesting that you think it's the same thing because some people talk about them being really separate, but you see them as the same. Your brain and your heart together, like
yeah,
talking to each other,
not the same, but like they are like directly connected.
like sisters
Right.
or brothers.
Yeah,
Like yeah,
yeah, that's it. Because what I feel is like, because we always hear this thing about like being rational or being emotional
yeah,
and
it's
all that
separate.
things. Yeah, but I really think, of course, you can have like a logical thought and an emotional feeling, that they are not the same and they can be even opposites. But I really think like both are connected either ways, because you have the feelings like in your heart, but I feel you have the feelings also in your brain, and you are aware of them and you can think of them, and develop them. If you take a feeling that it's supposedly born in the heart, then you also can try to understand this feeling and like
Yeah.
talk with this feeling and try to analyze it and understand the
Mm.
origin of it. And everything, all that happens in your mind. And it's like you can think is the rational way of thinking of a feeling. It could be, but it's also,
Yeah.
but how do you just objectively or in an empiric way think of a feeling? It's something that
Yeah, it's true.
it's,
Does do you think it like the feeling comes from the heart first and then the brain wants to try and understand it? Or do you think it happens both ways, that the brain is looking for something, like looking for an answer, and then the heart responds? Do you think it's happening both ways?
well, that's a hard question too. I have never thought about it like so deeply, but I love that you make me this question because then I get to think about it. I think it's I think it's both ways, honestly, because a lot of times, like, a lot of our feelings come from also from our scars and our
Mhm.
experiences. What have we lived? What have we learned? And all that things are on our brain, on our memory, on our, yeah, our traumas and everything. So it everything connects with the heart, no, like after that we feel it in the heart and we can even physically feel it a lot
Feel
of
it.
times,
Yeah.
but at the same time it's happening in your brain. So what your heart feels, I think, is like a consequence of your brain, and at the same time your brain has the consequences of the feelings, because
Yeah.
you can be in an amazing trip and having supposedly the best day of your life, but if you are feeling down, your brain will just take all the gray colors. It will think that it's not that good. And maybe you are just looking at a wall and doing nothing, just sitting down,
Yeah.
and you are feeling so happy that that wall is the most beautiful in the world for you. That is the best moment of your life. And so it's really, I think
Yeah.
it's always like a mixture. It's like a cycle. So where
Yeah.
is the beginning? I don't know, because I see it
Mm.
like a
Like a
circle.
circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because while you were talking, I was also thinking about that relationship because it's kind of a difficult one to answer between the brain and the heart.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, given that the society we live in and we're kind of using our brains much more, I think perhaps if we think about like productivity, being efficient, making money, like this kind of idea, most of it's coming from this part of the body. So my question to you is whether you think actually a lot of people are not so much connected to their heart, or do you think we're always engaging in that energy? Like, do you think sometimes there's a feeling that we prioritize then one, like the brain over the heart, and actually as artists, it's our job to kind of to make sure that, or to ensure that people realize or at least can reconnect with this feeling of the heart. Do you think that's something true?
Mm, well, I really like the way you have like the question itself. So thank you.
the,
Yeah.
the impossible question, possibly.
What?
The impossible question. I don't know if there's no answer potentially, by the way. Like it's
Yeah.
just,
Well,
you
it's
know.
just about feelings, no? So
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
why what
yeah.
we are talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think, just think about your family and your friends and maybe your colleagues. Do you get this sense as a poet that we're all on this journey of kind of recognizing this heart brain dynamic? Or do you really feel like these days that there's a problem here, like there's not enough of us are engaging with that? And I don't know what the answer is, like truly I don't. I'm just wondering whether you, because you're aware of this relationship, whether you see that in other people. I think that's what I'm asking, actually. Do you
yeah.
see that happening, or do you get a sense that it's not?
I think that what happens, like, from, of course this is just my perspective, and what you have said, there's not like right or wrong answer. It's just I think about how you visualize it.
Mm.
But the way I see it or I imagine it is like we all have this circle because it's the way humans work.
Mm.
But I think there is a tendency of avoidance, like we have to be, what you have said, we have to be really productive. We are in a capitalistic society. We are pieces of this system, and we have to be productive. And if you have depression, you should just try not to solve it, but to be able to work even having it, and that with, in general, with however you are feeling, or if you are even sick or whatever. So I feel like a lot of times we avoid that this circle is flowing that much, so that we can be more, like, we try to avoid a bit the heart, so the brain doesn't have this input, and it's just like, I'm productive because I supposedly I don't need the heart to be productive. I can just be using my brain, so
Brain.
I will try to make this flow like slower, and not connect that much with the heart, and just be like, yeah, just keep going. This typical thing of, I'm going, I'm not happy, I'm not sad, I just
Yeah.
keep going. And I think what happens with artists is that avoidance is not an option, because then you don't have art, or at least, like, where I take art from, it wouldn't work for me. Maybe for other artists, yeah, but in my case, that art is just this introspective way of analyzing myself. I wouldn't be able to do art if I'm blocking this connection, because so I think, like, the what artists do, at least from my point of view, or artists that work like me, is we use art to, it's a way of analyzing yourself, and or even analyzing what is around you. Maybe it's not always about yourself, but about everything. Of course, it's from your eyes and your perspective. So again, your brain and your heart is connecting with maybe a bird. You see a bird flying, and you think, like, your brain and your heart, they start like working, and they are like, wow, birds seem so free, they can fly over walls. It doesn't matter how tall a wall is, a bird can fly over it. And maybe you just think that because your mind and your brain are working together,
Yeah.
and you can react to the outside, and you can also analyze yourself. So I think it's a way of just looking from eyes that are combining all you have inside with the outside.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
are, like, stopping this connection, maybe you see a bird and you just see a bird, and you are like, your brain is like, it's a bird, but you don't connect it with the other things that a bird can produce in yourself, inside
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, it's true. I love this idea, what you were saying earlier about kind of that for artists, they can't really like ignore or like try to just push to the side this connection between the brain and the heart. Because in my own experience, where I think I spent many years from this part of the body, like really rationalizing a lot and working very productively, what happened for me was when I had like a catalyst last year, this part of my body just, it was all I could do. And you touched upon it earlier about necessity, that poetry for you feels like a need. And I think if you spend too much of your life, at least as an artist, kind of trying to dim this heart and kind of reduce it, it'll only come back with more force, And that was how I experienced it last year. It was like an eruption, because for too long I'd like tried to keep a lid on it, like no, like I don't, like you saying, like just keep going,
Yeah.
like everything is fine, like I have a job, I have a partner, but actually that's all very surface level. And I think as artists, and you could argue, I mean, I would argue actually that everyone is an artist in some form,
Yeah.
truly. I don't think there's a distinction. But if you try to hide this or try to reduce it, it only comes back with much more power, because it needs to be heard, like it needs to come out. And I remember at the first Hey Heart event, I said that. I was like, I think poetry is a necessity. And I will always stick by that line. I do. I don't know if you feel like you have a choice, And then you start to question, if you don't have a choice, what is it you? Because you're not actually choosing to do it. It's coming from another place. And then we start to think, well, what is it then that wants to come out? Does it have its own body, its own like thing? And of course, that's when people start to talk about God or start to talk about some other external energy. Do you do you connect with that idea that maybe there's like something else coming like through you, like you're being used as like a vehicle? Do you have that feeling or not really?
Um, I don't really have that feeling
No?
because I agree with what you have said, that everyone is an artist. Like every person is an artist, but you can search that place in yourself, or you can just focus on other things, or maybe there's people that have this like in a more natural way, like people that are better at sports or that are better
Mm.
at maths or whatever, but we can all do maths, we can all practice
Yeah.
sports, but of course we have some tendencies. And I think so that from that I think that we all have that inside ourselves. I don't think it's something like from the outside or something like divine. I feel it's something that grows within ourselves,
Mm.
and it's something I've been like thinking a lot about a lot of times. That like what is the difference between human beings and other animals? Like, and I always think that is art what really makes us human beings. It's not that we are smarter or that we are more developed, because animals are crazy and they are super developed in other things, and I mean there are things that we are like much worse than other living beings. But I think art is the thing, like culture is the thing that makes us really human. So I really feel it's something really like part of our like of being this living being,
Mm.
more than something external. Of course, then
External.
the interaction with the surrounding, but
Mm.
again, it comes like from your point of view and what you absorb from it.
Mm. Do you find, like thinking about it coming from within us as art, do you think art is also a bit like insane? Like you talked about chaos at the beginning of the conversation. Do you like, are there parts of that that come out and you're just like, this is absolutely mad. Like this makes no sense at all. Do you have that realization a lot, or does what come out like I think I'm asking like what comes out of you normally? Is it like joy, pain, humor, insanity?
Well, I think it really depends, because I like the first thing I've thought is chaos, because
Yeah.
of what I have said. Like I try to organize things, like my brain goes really fast. I feel that way, like it goes really fast, and sometimes it feels really loud, and it's mixing a lot of things. And it's like, okay, let's get this clear. Let's see
Yeah.
what do I have here. Yeah, or like I'm having some thought, some line of thought that I really want to pay attention to, but I have others. So it's like, okay, I need to write just to pay attention to this one. But at the same time, sometimes it's the opposite. I write because I have a super clear thought, and I want to have it written down, and I'm really clear about what I want to express, what I want to say. It's like my eyes are suddenly opened to a new idea. So, and it can be, the feeling can be anything. Like, I would say that I normally write when I really need to take things out and they get heavy, but sometimes is when I feel really happy about something, and I really need to take it also out of me, like wow, this day was so beautiful, or these people around me, I love them so much, I need to express it and take it
Mm.
out from me. Or even sometimes when I'm trying to learn new things, I also write the questions I have and I answer myself in the paper.
Mm.
So I feel it can really come from whatever is like being there, like
Yeah.
being
I
there,
think
making me feel a lot.
yeah, and I think one of the things that I've just like got from that like conversation is that it's about newness, I think. It's about like what's coming up as new all the time that you're then seeing with like a fresh perspective. Because I wonder that's also maybe key in creation in writing is that you're just seeing things. Actually, when I say this, I often think of children. I think it is like seeing things like a child, actually. And then
Yeah.
that's where this element of play comes in. And even though we've talked about this, that I think everyone is an artist, I do think we lose a little bit this feeling of seeing things from with newness, like children. And I wonder actually if that's really key in writing, is that what's happening is we're just always seeing things for the first time, perhaps, or looking at things differently. An artist, I spoke to someone last week who told me that they were mopping the floor, they were like cleaning the kitchen, and they like shifted their perspective and they started seeing like the bits of the mop like kind of doing that like an octopus on the floor. And she was like, that I've done mopped, how many times have I cleaned the floor in my life? But for the first time that day I just saw like this like octopus going all over the floor. And I thought, what a wonderful thing to have happen when you're doing something quite monotonous, right? Something you've always done. And so, yeah, I don't know if you agree with that, if it's like looking at the world like kind of like a child, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think like it's one of the sources of origin. Like every time, yeah, like you open your eyes, and you can also see them from the adult perspective, because we
Mm.
always have um, this conception, or this way of thinking that children have this magic in their eyes, and
Mm.
they are excited about everything, and everything is new. But I think as adults we have the same, but
Yeah.
it's really easy to lose it, because we have to be productive and all these
Yeah.
things, and we have to be mature and serious. And but I really think we have that, because we are learning, so we are wiser than before, and this gives us like new perspectives, and it gives us new tools to be able
Mm.
to see farther than when we were kids, and farther than 1 week ago, and even farther than 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
always
it's
have
true.
this, you keep going, so you are able to see more.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Like you start, because you have more experiences in your head, you can actually start
Exactly.
to blend things, like the mop from the floor that's like an octopus is coming. You have another memory of like being in the sea at some point, or I don't know, like you can start then to play with all the memories and all the experiences that you have. Whereas you're right, when you're like 5 years old or 6 years old, your kind of memory bank is smaller. So actually, as adults, we have more material, we have more things to
Yeah.
play with.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to touch on with that. I think it's a fascinating conversation. I think it's something that we could probably talk about for
Yeah,
for a
I
very
think
long
it
time.
could be never ending.
Yeah, I just want to touch upon another subject, which is Mallorca, because you've lived here for a couple of years. Do you have any thoughts on maybe writing in Mallorca? Like, does the island give you anything different than perhaps Madrid or Andalusia? How do you relate or connect with the creative energy here? Because a lot of people talk about it, and I'm interested to hear whether you've experienced the same.
Yeah. Well, I always start my answer with well. It just gives me like 2 seconds to think. um, Honestly, being here for me was a way of, like in Madrid, apart that I don't live like, I didn't live in the capital, I was like from the surrounding, but it is too big. And then you think like, okay, you have all opportunities, but it's true that it's really hard to find them, and then it's really hard to get in them. And here I feel like it's also a big city, and it's really international. That is something that I really like. And then I feel it's a place where that really takes care of artists, and where you I always speak about Madrid like the Hunger Games, like it's already really set up. And here in Mallorca, I feel you have a lot of opportunities. And a city is smaller, but it's still a big city. You have a lot of opportunities to you yourself start something, and it's really easy to get to know artists and really get to know them, not like, I saw a concert of this person. Then you can a lot of times talk to that musician, and probably you will meet that person again. So I feel also you can like create these spaces where you have this network of artists, And but the cool thing is that the city is not that small, so that it's always the same people. So there is people that are always there, and then new people, and then you get to know this person, and then you get to know another event. So everything, I feel like you are open to all the opportunities. While in Madrid, it is so big that it's really hard to find the spaces, or you really need to. It's like a fight, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Well, that
And
happens. Yeah.
oh yes, tell me. Sorry.
No, no, it's just in bigger cities, there is this feeling of competition. And I
Yeah,
don't know if I find that so much here in Mallorca. Not really, I don't
I
think.
don't feel it.
No.
I really feel that way, and like you already know a lot of people and you don't know other, and but you get to know them, it's like this
Mm.
way of, instead of competing, is more like, hey, it's so nice that you have been here, like hugging each other, embracing that we are
Yeah.
sharing that moment. And I feel like everyone is so thankful for all these opportunities. And then you can all the time connect new people, so there's always this space for other people, for new people.
Mm.
And I really like that, so that's why I feel like it's a place where artists can really evolve, and they are taken care.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think there is this kind of band of people where they come
Yeah,
and visit and they leave again, but they kind of leave this like imprint. And I'm not talking about the tourists necessarily. I'm talking about like visiting artists that come here to work. And so you have their influence, and then you have at the same time in that circle, like there are some that stay longer, some that stay for
yeah,
years, and then others that obviously have been here all their life. And there's just this wonderful dance. And I think perhaps because Mallorca is such a beautiful place as well, naturally, there seems to be this feeling of like gratitude, like, and so I wonder for artists who are sensitive to that environment, they do feel much more appreciative, maybe, of the people that come in and the people that leave and the people that, you know, because I think in these bigger cities, perhaps there's more of an emphasis on, yeah, on productivity, perhaps, or like, or
yeah,
making things happen with an outcome in mind. Whereas Mallorca feels much more like we're always in the process of that, and that's why it feels like lighter and perhaps more pleasurable because we're just like, well, there's this kind of current, this energy and this feeling of flow. And I do think that's also to do with the nature. I think the sea is a wonderful reminder of the flow
yeah.
that's happening, right? So great, yeah, no, no, lovely. I don't know if there's anything else you think would be nice to talk about. We've talked about Mallorca, we've talked about poetry, we've talked about art, we've talked about the heart. I don't know, is there anything that you think would be
um
great to say?
I don't know. Well, I want to say thank you to you,
Oh,
that
okay.
for sure, because I think it's really nice, like all the process you are doing, like starting something new. And well, I think we always tell you this, like you create these spaces for art that they really feel like safe spaces, because
Mm,
poetry is something really personal, and is what I've said before. I really feel is like getting emotionally naked and exposed, and
mm,
having places like Hey Heart where you can do that and be safe, and
mm,
and share that with other people that are doing the same. They are being vulnerable in front of everyone and feeling that like a safe space. And what we have said here in Mallorca, that it can be a person that just came today and we met that person today, and that person is reading something from the heart, and something that person is opening themselves. And I think that's really beautiful. And now you are creating this, that is also a way of getting to know what is behind all that poetry that we share. So
mm.
it's even getting deeper into the art. And I think that's beautiful. So I want to
Oh.
say thank you and congratulations too.
Uh, oh, that's very sweet of you, really. It's lovely to hear this because honestly, and you'll know this from your own work, but when you're organizing something or you're managing something, sometimes you do miss a little bit the magic because you're thinking about the event, you're thinking about hosting, you're
Yeah,
thinking about,
the
and so
analytic
you
way.
Yeah, and so you can't really sit back and see it for what it is. So when I hear you talk or when I hear other poets that say this is happening or this feels really great, I'm like, okay, good. That's good to
I'm
hear that
doing good now.
yeah, it's working, because um I am a poet as well, and this Hey Heart project actually for me is it's testing other skills because it's not always about just the poetry. It's also about holding the space for others,
Yeah,
and so I always feel like in a sense I step back. I just try and leave the magic and the poetry to the people that want to share their poetry.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're
so
like the responsible one of the event.
yeah, and I think for me it's like that's where I'm getting the energy from, and that's what's making me like giving me the ganas, the amos to like to do it. And I think going forward, I hope it will only grow. I hope it will only become much more central to the island, and one day maybe do like a festival or do
Wow.
something like on a much bigger scale, but at the same time, like maintaining this feeling of intimacy because sometimes the bigger things get, it can be really difficult then to keep the connection, like
Yeah,
the true connection. So I'm not like looking to like make it massive or anything, but I do think the more well known it is, the easier it can be for poets to find. That's more, I think, how I see it.
yeah.
So
Maybe
yeah, so we'll
having the
see.
balance between both.
Yeah, it's balanced and also, I'm happy. I mean, so far every event has been really popular. It's been really easy to find poets. I mean, you're performing on Thursday for the LGBT specific event, and of course that's much more niche. But it was pretty easy to get 10 poets. So for me, that
Yeah.
indicates that even in these more minority groups, there are plenty of people here in Mallorca that love
Yeah.
poetry and that want to share their words. Um, so yeah, I will see. We'll keep doing it. Keep seeing what happens.
Yeah, I really think it will keep working, really,
I
because
hope so.
people are
Yeah.
really willing to share, and the feedback from these events, I think it was super good.
Mm. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so yeah, let's see. Okay, let's stop there.
Okay,
Thank you
perfect.
so much for all the
Thank you.
wisdom and all the golden thoughts that you've had today. So yeah, I'm gonna close the podcast and then I think we go back to the screen and we can just say goodbye, like
Okay,
without being
perfect.
recorded. Okay,
Like in a normal way.
in a normal way. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay,